Hey, my friends. Today's episode is a little bit different. This is a live recording from a book club session I did where I dive into part 2 of Healthy as Fuck, which is called Just Tell Me What the Fuck to Do to Get Skinny Already. So this is the super practical stuff, the habits, the strategies, and you're going to get my unfiltered thoughts on what I would change if I wrote the book today. So heads up, this episode covers a lot, so I cut it off before we got to the Q&A session, but don't worry, I'm tackling your awesome questions about part 2 on how the fuck we get skinny in a different episode. Okay, let's get to it.
Ready to break up with your bullshit? I mean, all those excuses that are keeping you stuck. Because you have one life to live, and if you're not having fun yet, then that's a problem, dude. Welcome to Goals, Grit, and some woo-woo shit. The podcast where you learn about the habits of kicking ass at life. Whether you want to get ripped, get rich, or just get high on life, this is the place to be. Here's your host, best-selling author and feel-good expert, Una Duncan.
Hello. Today, guys, we are talking about part 2 of Healthy as Fuck. Just tell me what the fuck to do to get skinny already. So this is the super practical stuff after dealing with all of the mindset stuff last time. And I'm going to give you some updates, one major update I would add to this section. And then I'm going to answer your awesome questions. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted questions in advance. And then we'll open the floor and have more of a open discussion and we'll do some laser coaching. So let's talk about part 2. So I start part 2 by talking about why discipline, motivation, and willpower are bullshit. And that's not what we want. And still to this day, I get so many communications of lovely people who think that their main problem is that they are not motivated enough or not disciplined enough. And guys, this is a lie that has been sold to us through, when you're watching a movie, I love 80s movies. And then there's always the scene where the misfit dorky kids get in shape and then they take on the bad camp or whatever. You know what I mean? There's, Rocky, and there's, what's this one? Brittany Runs a Marathon, and Karate Kid. And this is my favorite movie, maybe one of all times. Red Hot American Summer, so fun. G.I. Jane. So there's always the montage where they play the fast music and the hero gets in shape. And then they're just this powerhouse for the rest of the movie. The problem with that is that kind of push eats up enormous energetic resources, right? So as soon as anything else happens that distracts you from your huge focus of getting in shape, like a big project at work, like your kid gets sick, like a global pandemic, like crazy politics, like life, right? Then you just don't have all those resources to keep going towards that big, marathon push that you're doing. That's just not the way that life works. Making that your fitness plan to have a big burst of motivation and then just to be like, okay, now I'm fit, check. That's about as unrealistic as your financial plan being like, I'm just going to win the lottery and make a big bunch and then live on that forever. It's really unrealistic. What is realistic and how transformation actually happens is habits. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Just over and over and over again. And so you don't need more discipline, motivation, and willpower. You need simple, boring habits. And this is 40% of our life is automated in this way. And what we want to do is consciously choose those things that are automated that we're doing all the time without even thinking about it. And so I talk about the habit loop, how we have a trigger. And the trigger can be anything. It can be the time of day. It could be a person. Like when I was in high school, I had my one bad friend that I would be bad with, or it could be a place. For me, my mom's house means comfort food. You know what I mean? Or 3 p.m. cookie craving. So that can be anything. Trigger can be anything. Emotions. And your behaviors, they can be really simple, like putting on your seatbelt, or they can be really complex, like driving yourself home from work. And then you've got the reward. And that can be physiological, like caffeine hit, or it could be psychological feeling of being rewarded or something like that. But listen, dudes, anything that you're doing in your life that you don't have to consciously remember to do and think about doing, you're putting on your seatbelt, if you're saying bless you when someone sneezes, if you're brushing your teeth, if you're showering usually, if you drink coffee, blah, blah, blah. All of these things are happening because there's a trigger, you're doing that behavior, and there's a reward. So anything in your world that you've automated is because you've got this loop happening, whether you realize it or not. What I wanted to write this book about is for you to be aware, oh, this is how things are happening automatically. Now, how can I choose what happens automatically? Because if our 40% of our life is being dictated by our habits, oh my gosh, let's choose those consciously, right? and have them work for us versus against us. So in the book, I talk about, if we're going to consciously create habits, we don't want to just willy-nilly create, because guys, oh my gosh, if you have any toe dipped in the wellness space right now on Instagram or whatever, I think you might have even seen the memes because it's so overwhelming right now. There's all these memes that are like, okay, right. So I'm supposed to consume enough protein to fucking kill a water buffalo. Then I have to drink 5,000 gallons of water. Then I have to do cardio, but not too much cardio. Then I have to do so much heavy lifting. And then I have to do my meditation. Then I got a cold plunge. So basically, you've got to pick the keystone habits, the ones that really matter, because we will go insane if we have to follow all of the wellness advice that we're supposed to be doing. So what we got to do is be really conscientious to be like, what are the keystone habits? And the keystone, if you remember the illustration in the book, in architecture, it's the stone that holds an arch together. It's the one thing that holds it all together. So in habits, it's the one habit that sets off a ripple effect of positive behaviors, right? For some people, making their bed is like, if I've made my bed, I know I've got my shit locked down, I'm under control, everything else kind of flows nicely from there. For me, keystone habit is exercising first thing in the morning, because I know when I do that, I'm going to eat a healthy meal. I'm going to be more relaxed and like alert for my first meeting. I know that I'm not going to drink in the evenings because I've got to get up and do my workout. And it just sets off a ripple effect that accumulates to a big difference. It's not that the workout is a big difference. It's the fact that it sets off this chain reaction. Okay. So in the book, I identify 7 habits of highly healthy motherfuckers. So these are the ones that I have witnessed through being in the MFA and really noticing what works for people, what is really worth bothering with. These are the ones. So I talk about fill half of every plate with vegetables. Actually, you know what? While I'm going through this, will you guys put in the chat whether this is a habit that you're like, nailed it, I am so on that habit, or if you're like, oh my gosh, this is really hard for me. Okay, so I want us to all have a little discussion about the habits. So filling half of every plate with vegetables. And I'll just say that if you do this, you do not have to worry so much about calorie tracking or making sure that you're getting all of your micronutrients. That is pretty much taken care of if you just do the simple habit of filling half of every plate with vegetables. All right. How are you guys doing? We're working on it. We're inconsistent. Half managed. Interesting. Okay. Next, go the fuck to sleep. Does anyone follow this guy? He does heavy metal versions of self-care practices. Be like, go fold your laundry. It's really good to take care of yourself, or whatever. So anyway, he's very funny. He has a good go the fuck to sleep metal song. And the reason we want to go the fuck to sleep, because if we are chronically sleep deprived, it's kind of like being drunk. And when you're drunk, do you make amazing choices? Probably not. Do you feel like hardcore workouts? Probably not. Do you feel like pushing your boundaries? No, not really. So there's a million reasons why you will want to go fuck to sleep, but you definitely want to go fuck to sleep. It's going to impact your fitness if you are chronically underslept. So getting better at sleep, nailing sleep, you guys are good at sleep. Awesome. I am loving this informal poll because it's not what I would have thought. All right, back away from the booze. Sad truth is, guys, I'm always sad about this, but it's horrible for you. It's fucking poison. There's no it does not make you healthier in any way. If you have any health goals, drinking alcohol will steal from that. So that's the deal. And then, as you know, in my book, I write suggestions. If you are going to consume booze, make sure it's happy booze, meaning that you're celebrating versus using booze to deal with something. Drink with friends, blah, blah, blah. So I've got specific boundaries that I suggest people think about their booze intake. You guys are great at booze. Amazing. Awesome.
I have substituted, because I don't drink alcohol, really.
Okay.
But for me, it's soda. It's Pepsi specifically. And that's my thing. When I have pizza, I want a Pepsi. When I have a burger, I want a Pepsi. After a hard day at school, I want a Pepsi. And so I just crossed out booze in your book and put Pepsi in place, because I'm guessing those are the same empty calories, bad habit, all of that.
I mean, booze is definitely worse for you. So,
oh, really?
For example, if you were drinking alcohol and you replaced it with Pepsi, I would be like, very good health move. 100%.
Really?
For sure. Oh, for sure. For sure, Jody. That, however, I'm saying getting rid of Pepsi is also a great idea. Also a great idea. And thank you for mentioning that because, I know that that is huge for so many people. That would have been a good thing to include. There you go. There, I just added to the things that I would update this with. Hey, quick interruption of this conversation to let you know about something time sensitive that's happening right now. If one of your goals is to have more income, my friend Stu McLaren is running a free workshop that will teach you how to monetize something that you're already passionate about and turn it into a recurring revenue business. Kind of like my Masters of Fitness Awesomeness membership, which is my pride and joy, and the reason that I have the time and the money to create this podcast every week. So if you've ever thought, I wonder if I can make money doing something I'm passionate about without blowing up my whole freaking life, go to fitfeelsgood.com/Stu, STU, and check it out. You don't need 1 million followers, nothing like that. You just need to start. fitfeelsgood.com/Stu, STU. Okay, back to the show. All right, chill the fuck out and meditate. As you guys know from reading the book, the real heavy lifting is happening in your brain and in noticing your thoughts and just creating the tiniest little space between the thought and the behavior. And that space, that's where freedom lives, when you have that tiny little space. And creating that space and watching those thoughts, that's what you're practicing in meditation. And I think that so many people are like, oh, but meditation doesn't work for me because my brain's going crazy. And I'm like, that's the experience of meditation. That is the deal. That's like saying exercise doesn't work for me because I get all sweaty. That is the deal. Your brain is crazy. You watch it be crazy, but at least you're watching it rather than have it be crazy and you think that that's you and you think that that's real, right? So chill the fuck out and meditate. How are you guys doing in meditation? Oh, good. We got some EFT. Not meditating. Stretching practice is meditation. Great. Calm app. Absolutely. I'm a loser at meditation. Now, Karen, if you meditated, you might catch yourself calling yourself a loser and have a more compassionate thought for yourself. I'm teasing, but that's also true. 0 to 10 on meditation. I knew this would be the hardest. And guys, I'm going to confess, this is the one that has slipped for me recently. Yeah. Okay. Eat it all, but way less. There is still so much out there that is some freaking version of don't eat this one toxic thing or this one toxic food group. And if you don't eat this food group, then you can eat anything else. You just can't eat this one horrible bad thing like carbs, like sugar, like seed oils or whatever, right? And really, just enough with that elimination stuff. Really, it's just about eating appropriate portions. And I will say that this is often the biggest aha moment for so many of my clients when they start working in our programs, because everybody comes to me, no one on this group is thinking, I don't get why I'm not healthy. I just eat Frosted Flakes and it's not working or whatever. I know you guys know, you're like, hey, yeah, vegetables. But when I give you a meal plan, this one people are saying, they're like, oh, I was just eating way too much. It is the biggest insight that people have is that, I was eating more than I needed to eat. And the fear that most people have is, but if I, I'll be hungry. Often they're hungry because their macros are out of whack or they're kind of eating, high blood sugar spiking things or whatever. Anyway, so what I'm just saying is that is the biggest insight people often have. They're eating too much. So yes, this was huge for me, says Kathy. Yep, this is hard. Getting better. I got this one nailed. Oh, so good. Tough for me. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, great. 6 out of 10. So interesting. I'm loving this poll. Consistent exercise. So guys, again, I know that right now the conversation is if you're not lifting heavy, you might as well pull up a rocking chair and just die. That's not true. You just have to do consistent exercise. And yes, building muscle is fantastic. I'm a huge fan of that. We're going to do that. And cardio is great. And all this stuff is great, but don't even fucking worry about that. Worry about just being consistent. Finding movement that you love or bribing yourself so that you love any kind of movement and just doing it consistently. That is the one thing that matters is consistency. And I'm talking, yes, you're moving on weekends. Yes, you're moving on your birthday. Yes, you're moving when you're tired. Yes, you're moving when it's not convenient. You're moving all the time. All right. Meal prep. This is so critical, guys. When people post in my groups often, if they are, my habits have kind of slipped or whatever, meal prep is often the, what do I want to say? The, what's it called when you have a gateway? Gateway. It's like the kickstart. It's a really great kickstart habit. If you meal prep and if you got all the beautiful meals, you're going to eat them. That's what you're going to eat when you're hungry. If you've got beautiful food in your fridge, that's what you're going to eat. If you do not have beautiful, healthy food ready for you, you're going to eat whatever is available whenever you're hungry. And that's often not great. So if you were going to be like, oh, now I want to get started and I don't have that much time, if you can give me 1 hour and you make a whole bunch of healthy food in that 1 hour, that's going to have the biggest ripple effect on how the rest of your week goes. All right. So if you only gave me one keystone habit, this is the one I want you to start with. Yeah. Okay. So summary of part 1, I talk about how to create new habits or break old ones using the habit loop. And then I tell you exactly the habits that really matter. If it feels distracting to think about cold plunging and I don't know, oil pulling, or like blah, 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 all that stuff, focus on these. We only have so many fucks to give. We only have so much effort, so much energy in us. These are the ones that I want you to laser focus on. Okay. So curious, what do you guys take from this section?
I had struggled for a very long time on the habit loop. Just really thinking about, I knew what my triggers were and I knew what my behaviors were. I couldn't think of a new reward. I struggled really bad. So my trigger is, I'm a school teacher, and my afternoon plan, which luckily this year my plan time has switched to the morning. So that honestly kind of took care of it itself. But after school, I've got a window where I'm still at school, but I don't have any students. And that was when I would get the munchies really bad. And I would just eat what I always joked and said, that's my hungriest time of the day. I would eat a table leg if that's all I could find.
Yep.
And so I fixed myself a drink. It's a low calorie, but it's just kind of an additive to water just to make water taste better. And I drink that to get me home so that I don't stop at the convenience store to get me a Pepsi on my way home. And then as soon as I get home, I change into my workout clothes and I call it mindful movement, because I get up first thing in the morning and I work out and I'm tired when I get home. So I don't want to do a whole other full on workout. So I just do some gentle yoga, or if it's a pretty day, I'll go out for a walk, or I live out in the country and I've got a barn full of kitties and I go see my kitties. I just do something that's moving and getting me to the point, because once 5 or 5:30 hits, that hunger window closes for me and I'm fine. It's just that window right after school when I just want to eat whatever I can find. And so by substituting, finding a different reward, that really has taken that bad habit of eating crap after school. And I'm doing something that's a much better choice.
In listening to this, Jody, I am so impressed, because not only did you figure out a reward, come up with a different reward, but did you guys notice all the other things she did? She's like, I shifted my planning to the morning. I make it really inconvenient to have a Pepsi because I have to stop somewhere. And you've been so intentional in recognizing this is my obstacle. This is the time of day that I'm a little bit shaky. Here's the obstacles that I have to overcome. This is what I want. I know I'm not going to be, perky enough for a workout at the end of my day. That's completely unrealistic. So I'm going to give myself this gift of mindful movement. And there's a lot of leeway what that can be. Do you guys notice all of this awesome work that she's done? And I want to point out too, that no one could have done that work but Jody. A lot of times people are like, yep, just give me the plan or whatever. And I give people the plan for sure. But your execution of that plan relies on you to do the inner work of what is going to make me feel rewarded? What is challenging for me? Where do I need extra support in my day? How can I be my own best friend and set myself up for success? No trainer can do that for you. No life coach can do that for you. You got to do that shit. And that's the real work.
It took me reading your book 5 times before I finally could figure that out. But yes, I feel so good about it now. And it really does seem to be working. So I'm really pleased with that. But like I said, it did take me 5 times. So don't give up.
You did it. Did anybody else have a big takeaway from this section?
I think for me, with the exercise thing being my biggest challenge, reminding myself, and I did it at one point, but setting an alarm that I know I can do exercise. For me, it is 8:30 and I drop whatever else I'm doing. There might be other things I'm doing, but I know from 8:30 to 9 o'clock, that's my time. And that I got again from your book, because it's just like you set the habit. I'm going to have an alarm that goes off. That means I do that exercise, and I get it in every day.
Love it. And I'm guessing that probably sets off a positive chain reaction.
Yes, it does. And I'm in a better mood, and I'm going to eat a healthy breakfast, like you said.
Amazing. Anyone else?
I think what I really learned from joining the MFA was what you mean by vegetables, because oh my God, I was like, this is a lot of vegetables.
Yes, 100%. That's a lot of people are like, oh, okay. Now I got it. Awesome. Anyone else got a comment?
Yeah, kind of along with the vegetable thing. What I didn't expect to happen was, I think it was even before I joined the 28-day or whatever, you had that meal prep, the like
meal prep made easy.
Yeah. And it had the salad. So my first habit that I started doing was I was having a salad at lunch. I crave that salad now. Like, the salad is a reward, because the salad dressing is amazing. And, I make the ecstatic face. And so my son is 17, and I made the salad for him the other night for dinner. And he was like, this is a really good salad. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Like,
I know, right?
It's amazing. And I crave different foods now, because before, like, I would throw some vegetables in and think that I was getting my vegetables, and I wasn't getting nearly the vegetables that I started eating. And now I just crave it.
That's awesome. And I totally agree with you on that. A lot of times when people are like, well, I don't like vegetables, I'm like, oh, come to mama. I'm going to make you love vegetables. I'll show you how they can be really yummy. Any other thoughts about the content in part 1 that you want to share before we get to the questions? Or no, before we get to what all will change?
I was just going to say that I'm sitting here with the book in front of me and listening to you, and I literally just saw myself in the book. So we've been having terrible, terrible weather last couple days. I've been stuck inside, just got back from vacation, and I've just been like getting bored in the afternoon, starting to snack. And I'm sitting here looking at the part where you're writing about how you have to interrupt the habit loop repeatedly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me right there. I'm just like seeing myself in your book. So I was actually walking around in the kitchen going, how can I interrupt this habit loop?
Yay! That's awesome. And in doing that, you were interrupting the habit loop, because you're calling awareness to it. A habit loop is almost by definition unconscious, right? It's trigger. So if you were watching it and being like, wait, I want to interrupt this, then in order to fulfill the habit loop, you would be doing so intentionally. So, and I just want to speak about that, guys. One of the reasons why we're not really talking about small wins today, but one of the reasons why it is so important to do a small win. For example, if you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm coming down with something, I'm just like, there's no way I'm doing my HIIT and my strength training today. It's just not appropriate for my body right now. That's absolutely totally cool. And you should still do something. And that something, guys, could be like, okay, I did 2 tricep stretches. I'm good. Like teeny, tiny, but you want to keep the loop of trigger. It's 6 a.m. behavior. I do a workout. Reward. I have my smoothie or whatever, because every time you do the loop, you're just programming it into your brain so that it starts happening before you even think about it. And that's where we want to get. But every time you interrupt the loop by, for example, pacing your kitchen and saying, how can I interrupt this loop? For example, every time you interrupt the loop, you're weakening its hold on you. So it really matters every time. So for example, we're going to talk about cravings later on, because a bunch of you wrote about cravings. And if you just delayed the craving, for example, if you have like trigger, I sit down and I watch a show, and behavior, I eat popcorn, I eat chips or whatever, reward, feelings of treating myself, blah, blah, blah. But if you sit down and you're like, I'm going to have my chips, but I'm just going to wait until the end of 20 minutes or something like that. You have the trigger, but you don't do the behavior right away. And then you just start to weaken its hold on you a little bit. And every time you just interrupt it a little bit. Or if you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to have something, but today I'm going to have carrots. And they have carrots and they're like, oh, this isn't giving me that chip feeling, that bad girl feeling I get for my chips. And then you're like, oh, I didn't get the reward. Okay, you're weakening it. You see?
Can I just
Can I just interrupt, Una?
Please, yeah.
That bit you did there was really helpful for me, because I find that I'm looking at creating the positive triggers, but I couldn't think how to stop the negative ones. And I'm that person that goes to the movies and has the chocolate or what have you.
Okay.
And I'm like, how can I stop this? Because if I don't do it, I'm sitting there craving it, and that's all I can think about. But that was really helpful, that part. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, for my first year of not snacking in the movie, I chewed on straws, and I'm not suggesting that it's not a good health behavior or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, I needed something to fiddle with, and then now it never occurs to me to get anything in a movie theater. Hey, super quick interruption. So my 100th podcast episode is coming up soon, and I would love your help celebrating. So if there's been a moment in the show, a nugget that blew your mind, a story that made you sit in your driveway to hear the end, maybe a moment you laughed out loud, I would love to hear about it. Just head to the show notes, hit the Speak Pipe link, and leave me a quick voice note. It's super easy, and you might just hear yourself on the 100th episode. Thank you so much. What would I change today? Really not much, guys. I stand by everything. And this is, 5 years more of observing thousands of people. Oh yeah, these are the ones that matter 100%. The other thing that struck me as I was reading the book this time is how the trends are all the fucking same. Just new names. Back in the day when I was writing this, everyone was doing paleo and then keto, and now it's carnivore. Where everyone back then was really concerned about their thyroid or their adrenals or wheat sensitivity. Now it's like perimenopause, hormones, ADHD. And before you get a little bit like prickly about that, I am not saying that any of those conditions aren't real. I'm not saying that they are not challenging to health behaviors at all. What I'm saying is that none of those things mean that you are broken, unlike what the media right now is pushing down people's throats. And even with those things, and maybe especially with those things, these are still the simple keystone habits that you need to focus on, and they will still get you results if you can focus and do them consistently. But I do want to say, this is the biggest thing I'm going to change about this chapter. So, gosh, last year I Googled myself, you do. And I found this Reddit thread where there were, look, guys, can you see that? 4,000 comments. And they all fucking hated me. And this is in the subreddit ADHD Women. And what she posted here is a picture of this page talking about the scoop of the habit loop. And you can't really read it, but basically I'm describing how the habit loop works. And I use brushing your teeth as an example. And I talk about the beauty of automaticity. And I say, can you imagine if we had to work up the fucks every day to do these routine things? And that sentence hit this community so hard that a lot of women said it made them cry. They showed it to their neurotypical family to describe what it was like to be them. And I was reading comment after comment after comment, and a lot of them were really fucking harsh against me, which I think is a bit ridiculous, but also really, holy shit, I had no fucking idea. No fucking idea. And my son is diagnosed with ADHD, but he doesn't experience it the way this particular group does. So I really didn't understand that not everybody has this sort of psychology. And so when I found this, I found an ADHD expert to come on my podcast, and she says that it takes more repetitions and it needs to be more highly stimulating. So I don't know if I've had a conversation or a webinar or presentation like ever where someone hasn't brought up, yeah, but like, it's just not rewarding, or I can't figure out how to reward myself. And I have a lot to say about that, but I will also say that according to my lovely guest, and if this is an experience for you or an experience you're curious about, because if you do not have any sort of neuroatypical psychology, I'm guaranteeing there's people that you love that do. So this is a great podcast episode to check out. But what she was basically saying is that people that have that sort of brain just need a higher dopamine reward in order to feel the reward. Like, let's crank up the knob on this a little bit. So anyway, if that's you, do check out that podcast. And that is a huge edit that I would make to this section to acknowledge it. Does anyone here have any comments about that? Anyone who also had that moment of being like, oh, brushing my teeth is actually not easy for me?
Yeah, Una, actually, it's interesting that you say amp up the reward, because that's, I guess I didn't realize it, but that is exactly what I did. I wanted to get to the gym and I wanted to lift more, but it wasn't fun. I'd added in a lot of activity into my life that was fun, took up squash, took up skiing again, and that was a reward in and of itself. So that was great, but lifting just wasn't. I wanted to do it. So I found that if I listened to a really great podcast and only let myself listen to that when I was at the gym lifting, and then if I hit up the massage chair at the gym for 15 minutes after, doubling it up like that, just really made it enough of a reward that I would do it every time.
Perfect. Good work. Again, this is the real work. This is the work that no one could do with Angela. And she actually took the time to figure it out and figure it out like, okay, really, I need to make this. And when people are like, I need more motivation, I'm like, nope, you need to bribe yourself and you figure out how to bribe yourself. That's your job. Yeah. Your job is not to grit your teeth until you fucking just do it. Like, I'm just going to do it because I'm going to make myself do it. That just doesn't work. Bribe yourself. Make it smaller and make the reward way bigger. You know? If Angela was still struggling with this, I'd be like, yes to the podcast, yes to the massage, and go with a friend or do something else and also shorten it. See, I only have to lift for like 10 fucking minutes and I get all of that or whatever. So if it's still not enough of a reward, try making the chore smaller. Okay. What else would I change today? The only other thing that I would just like take a second look at is there's a few things that I would be harder and softer about. And I would definitely be softer, less emphatic about things like no calorie sweetened drinks. I don't really care about that much. That's not a make or break. So there's some language I have in there that feels quite dated, like toxic, nasty chemicals, oil, but like that, that to me right now is edging over to this kind of wellness influencer fear mongering, everything's toxic and you blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I'm not interested in that vibe at all. I don't think I have a lot of it, but I think I say nasty oils, plastic containers I call out as not good, whereas I don't care about that. I really don't think those things matter that much. And I think that those things just distract people. Let's not worry about that. Let's focus on getting enough sleep. Let's focus on not drinking so much alcohol or whatever. Yeah. The other thing I don't know if I would change this, that it might be a little bit softer on plant-based protein, which I actually believe in that even more, much more actually than when I wrote the book. But because that is so polarizing right now and almost politicized, I'm like, I don't want people to bounce just because that's a red flag for them so that they bounce and they're not going to hear all of the really important stuff that I want to talk about as far as wellness and taking care of yourself. So I don't know if I would be softer on that because like I said, I believe in it even more, but I don't know if that's also a distraction. I don't want people to think that in order to follow my principles and to get healthier that they have to be vegan. I don't want that to be the takeaway. And I know that for some people that's so distracting that it would be. All right, that's a wrap on this book club session. I hope you got some solid takeaways from part 2 of Healthy as Fuck. Now, I know I didn't get to your questions in this episode, but don't worry, I'm tackling them in another episode. We're going to be diving into things like how do you meal prep for a full week without the food going bad? What's the best way to actually drink more water? How do I break up with a little sugar, yummy habit that feels like the love of my life and I don't actually want to break up with that habit? All right, so stay tuned for all of that. Really great practical questions and answers that are going to help you. And hey, listen, if you know of anyone who is on a fitness or weight loss journey, maybe send them this episode and help them out. All right, see you next time. Hey dude, thanks for listening. If you like this episode, make sure you're subscribed so you can get the next one. And by the way, if you rate and review this podcast, it really helps me get found by other people who need some goals, grit, and some woo-woo shit. And be sure to connect and DM me at Una Duncan on Instagram and let me know what you thought of the episode. Chat soon.